Okay, so welcome to today's Brown Bag lecture series. Today we are pleased to present to you our speaker, Matt Bernier. He's a product manager, so Matt Bernier is the developer experience product manager at SendGrid. He has been an engineer, entrepreneur, recruiter, event planner, car mechanic, gardener, father, and so many other things. His claim to fame is that he rode a roller coaster off the Great Wall of China and licked a 300-year-old table in the same week. Matt is passionate about making developers' lives easier through great product research and empathy for the work that developers have to do every day. So here to present on product management, how we apply product management principles at SendGrid and 4DX is Matt Bernier. The floor is yours, Matt.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and share this presentation that I have, partly so you guys don't have to stare at me the whole time, but also because I've sort of put this information together for a conference that I'm going to, but I thought it fit really well with the topics that we talked about. So let's do that real quick. All right. How do I make all of this go away? There we go. All right. So I am the developer experience product manager at SendGrid, and that gives me the opportunity to work in our open source libraries with developers, with our documentation, and also on our API. When we started the team, we had 7 libraries that just connected to our V2 API, and they only sent email. We sat down and we thought, okay, that's awesome, but how do we actually manage this? We wanted to get all of our API endpoints into our libraries. We wanted to improve the actual experience with the libraries and with SendGrid, and we had 2 people. So we sat down and we did some math based on the velocity we had with just managing the open source community and like the things that were coming in and trying to fix up some of the backlog items we had. And we realized it was going to take us 10 years. So if we sat down and we coded every single endpoint, we've got 300 something endpoints, into the libraries and made them idiomatic and really fit all the different things that people needed to do, we were going to basically give up the next 10 years of our life to do it. So we put together the plan, and all right, we started. All right, we're fixing some bugs. We're going to go build great products, and developers are going to love us. Step 3, profit. The first thing we did was fall on our face. We really didn't get very far here because we realized as soon as we started putting stuff out there, people started responding. And we didn't know what to do with all of that. And so we kind of had to take a step back. Ready, set, go. So one of the things that we did was we worked on our backlog. We basically just organized everything we could into Jira, and we realized we have a really big problem. We had a view like this, and we have no idea how to prioritize anything. Ruby issue number 5, is it bigger than the new support issue or the thing that our CEO is asking us to do? Or is it, documentation we should be working on? Should we be building out a full, website for people so they can do forgot password issues and give them the database export and everything? We have no idea. Plus we also have, a ton of stuff just sitting here in progress. Do we follow up on that? What do we do? So we found this formula for prioritizing everything that we do called RICE. This is the most delicious picture of rice I could find. And I have a note to remind me that if we're ever in the same city and you know a good curry place, please hit me up. I want to go. But RICE is a formula from Intercom. If you hit up Google for Intercom, RICE, you'll find this. And it's this nice formula, really simple. These guys did a great job. And you basically give every single item in your backlog a calculation for reach, for the impact. Reach is how many customers that you're going to touch. Impact is how much of an impact on their job that they're trying to do will this be. Confidence, we actually slightly modify from what Intercom says, and we choose how confident are we that we can actually complete this thing with the information we have. Multiply those together, and then you divide by effort, which is a calculation of how much time for a developer in a month is this going to take. The beautiful thing here is that this solves for so many different issues with, my executive came and asked me to do this crazy thing. Something's broken. There's some dude with 18 exclamation points telling me all about how much of an awful person my parents are. In open source, there's all of these different things going on. And you can sit down and you can really be objective about all of this subjective stuff. So what do? We actually, did the worst thing possible when we went to a spreadsheet. We got out of Jira. We just put everything in a spreadsheet and we started ranking everything. And we ended up with these kind of items. So you can see here, like I have an example of an emergency item, the big squeaky wheel, which is our executive coming out of nowhere. We have a new project that somebody just wanted us to do. We have no context for whatsoever. We have this new project that the product team did, and they've actually spent time with customers and researched this thing, and they know everything there is to know about this and what our customers are going to try to do with it. And then we have this tiny little change like, edits to the README file that also could potentially offset a bunch of support tickets. So when we actually give these things numbers and we rank them, you end up with a score, which is what's on the right side. We have in the spreadsheet, you can do like lookup tables, and we have all of these words that translate to a score, and the Intercom article will explain that. The big thing here is emergency items. Don't even prioritize it. Just get it done. If your servers are going down or you deployed something stupid to the library and everybody's sending email to my inbox instead of to their customers, that's a problem. Go fix that. Don't spend time figuring out what the priority is. After that, we see that the clearly defined project, it sits up top of the thing that's the big squeaky wheel, or the new project with no context, which seems really obvious, but sometimes that big squeaky wheel is an executive standing at your desk or your biggest customer saying, hey, you guys got to do this. Sort of a sidebar. I worked at a company that we had this very large customer. It was our biggest customer. And we sat on the phone with the guy, and he literally said, you guys are the worst. Your code sucks. Your servers don't work. And we're just going to go find another company to work with. And I was like, mute. I can't do this. My boss, he was a Kiwi. He just sort of like started talking, and it was like music from the heavens. And this customer just sort of calmed down and pretended like nothing was going on. It was amazing. But then we talked about it later, and he's like, the complaints this guy has they're a problem for him, but they're not a problem for all of our customers. And we need to work on those problems first. So this is kind of how things work out. And really we just rank based on the score. Highest score wins, and you start working on that item. More stuff might come in. Something might come in that's above it.
My wallet you have? Yeah.
But the beautiful thing is that you end up being sort of Kanban, which just means take the top item off the list, move it to the right side, get it done. And then you go to the next top item, and you're always working on the thing that's the most at the time when you go to the task. So, I'm picking up somebody's microphone.
One sec.
No problem.
All right, resolved.
All right, so it was perfect time for the stop sign. The other thing that we did was we actually put time in our schedule once a quarter to just get out of email, get out of the community, get out of our backlog, sit down and do what we call a summit. And, it's this big, huge event with two of us locked in a room with a whiteboard. But really what we do is for a couple of weeks before we do the summit or throughout the quarter, we'll just put ideas of things that either we want to work on, problems with our workflow, things somebody said, some new technology, whatever it is, and we put that into just kind of an agenda for us to just back away from everything else and talk about this. This really lets us take an iterative approach to what we're doing. And this is how we ended up with Rice. This is how we ended up with our priorities. We also found out that basic Rice wasn't good enough for us because we also were beholden to the rest of the product team when they released something. So how do we prioritize that? Do we artificially inflate the rank, or do we add, accommodations for a due date and for the research that's been done and for like a company mission? And so we were able to actually modify this and then make it very quick for us to be able to prioritize everything. Another thing that came out of a summit is, and this actually took us 2 years to write this, what is that 6-word sentence? What are we here for? Why the hell are we doing this? What's the point of the work that we're doing? And we came up with this, and both of us were like, yep, that's it. So our goal is to guide developers from discovery to delight. That means that we work with the teams that are producing advertisements for developers all the way until the support team is helping them, helping the developers solve a problem. We influence the documentation, we own the API specification and our open source libraries. And then we also work with sales and marketing and support to make sure that we're providing the best experience that we can, but also taking the data that we get from our customers back to the rest of the business and sharing that with them to, not only show them that we are talking to developers, but then also to make sure that, that we're all working together to produce products that our customers are going to love and value. One of the things that I've done this year is I've had upwards of 70 discussions just with developers that have come in through various channels, just to talk to them and figure out what it is that they need to validate a product decision, to dig in on a problem that they're pointing out to us, and just to see, is this really an issue? Is this just for this person, or is this something that's indicative of a potential complete product opportunity? And we've had a couple of those. The other thing that we did was we automated. So much like this toy company made this sweet little robot that when you pet him, he gets happy. We actually set up the GitHub webhook that actually drops directly into our Google Sheet for our backlog. And we set up a CLA, which is contributor license agreement, that is automatically triggered when somebody submits a pull request. And then we also set up with a company called Codis, who has an API for swag delivery. We set it up so that when somebody's first pull request gets merged, we'll actually send them a link in GitHub. They go authenticate with their user ID, and they can fill out the form to get a shirt or sticker or something else. These automations, within about a sprint of putting in the new backlog, and then also within about a sprint of putting in some of these automations, we doubled our velocity. We were able to spend less time emailing to get swag delivered, or even packaging it ourselves, which we've done, putting stuff into Jira, or even manually putting it into the spreadsheet. Some of the ranking stuff can be done in a way that's automatic. Our reach is actually calculated based on what language the library is, because we know how many users are in there. And so we're saving, 15 seconds here, 30 seconds there, and this adds up. And last year we added 3.5 sprints worth of work just by getting the automations done. So you don't know where you are until you have something to look at. Just start recording some information. Start paying attention to what you're working on and where you're spending your time. And pay attention to your velocity. It actually becomes a really good indicator of what's even possible. Reminder, if I'm in town or you're here and you want to get Curry, hook it up. Rice is amazing. It's a really good way to take this, what can seem very subjective, and make it objective. And then you can modify it. Once you've started using it, make it your own. Don't forget to stop, do a status, do a retro. What's working, what's not? How do I improve this workflow? Hey, this community member said this thing. Oh, holy crap, I had 5 people say that too. Like, this sort of stuff is really important. When you have if you haven't figured it out yet, which we knew we wanted to help developers, but we didn't know exactly what the focus was, sit down and try to set your vision. And this can change, but write something down. And then when it's not quite applying, figure out why, and then rewrite it. Automate, just do it. And then do this over again. And I'm going to let this animation run because I'm super proud of it. Oh yeah, look at that thing go. I didn't realize how slow that was. All right, skip. And then the last thing is, don't forget to have fun. If you're not having fun with the product you're building, the business you're building, the job you're doing, get out, go do something else. You are in this school to learn how to code. Once you know how to code, you can do anything. You can write up these tools. You can build things. You can solve big problems. You can go make somebody's day by just making a contribution to their repo. I've had, in this month, it's Hacktoberfest. I'm actually going to stop sharing the screen so you guys can look at my beautiful face again. This month is Hacktoberfest, and we've seen 2 years worth of code donated to our open source libraries. We were hoping to get, maybe a month's worth of code. And we know what it is because we estimated what it would take us to do this work. We've had people jump in and help us put a code of conduct in, make text edits. People have written an entire permissions application on top of our permissions API. We've had all kinds of stuff done. And all of that is because we sat down and we figured out how to engage with the community and how to talk to them and, figure out what it is that they need. And it just comes from making little changes along the way. And those guys have made our day the same way that I hope, you guys are out there making somebody else's day when you're, sharing code and sharing ideas and building really great stuff. So that's my talk. Thank you so much. I believe we're going to do questions.
Yes, sir. Hey, Matt, it's Ty. I'm the lead TA at Lambda School, and I'll be trying to order all the questions.
Cool.
So I have one apology, one comment, and maybe 2 questions right now, but that'll fill up real quick. All right. So, Bojani is the best curry in Atlanta. Just FYI, if you're ever here, now you know.
Yes.
Not a question, but an apology. I used SendGrid for a Reddit clone for a boot camp project with fake users and emails. I accidentally sent off emails to all the fake account a number of times and got suspended right away. Sorry about the unintended abuse. Fixed it fast, got the suspension lifted.
Yeah, no, what's cool about that is our compliance team, they're pretty awesome. They actually really do understand, right? That's one thing about email, even testing with your own inbox. You're like, this is my inbox. I'm not reporting it as spam. If you're not engaging with all those emails, Gmail will report it as spam for you. And so I don't know if that's what happened here, but it's very possible to get your account locked just testing. And that has everything to do with the fact that, we report to spam and anti-malware compliance groups, and those people own the blacklists. And so we do everything we can to try to protect our IPs, even when it's something like this. And, you hit up support and they go, oh, okay, no big deal. They push a button and you're back up in
line. What is velocity? Could you define in greater detail what velocity means to you in terms of that speak?
Absolutely. So velocity at its base is just how much work can you get done in a set amount of time. So what we do is we use this really arbitrary thing called story points. You could also use number of hours or number of days. We set a minimum of 1 story point for every project, every task that we have. And then when we complete a task, we get points. And so we basically have what we call a 2-week sprint. In Kanban, it's still really kind of a sprint. You just do it with a calendar instead of with, reloading your list. And we look at what did we get done in this 2-week period. So maybe we got, 18 points done. So that's our velocity for that 2-week period. We actually take an odd approach to velocity where a lot of engineering groups will say, we want to do velocity for the last 3 sprints, because as we improve, we want to be able to see what our current velocity is. one thing that I noticed is, sprint 2, you might have gotten 80 points done because you had a bunch of stuff that was work in progress and you were able to clear it all out because the blocker got out of the way. Well, now your velocity is, 45 on average, but your team can really only do 16 points. And so that 3 sprint thing doesn't really work. 6 months is better. What we actually do is we keep our velocity and we average it for number of points completed since we started the team divided by number of work days. So we know what our velocity over time is. And as we do improvements and as we make ourselves a little bit faster, the number goes up. And what we found is that, things like having a kid or being sick or holidays or whatever it is, they all get in there. And that average actually is more of a perception of reality of what's actually possible to get done than the last 3 sprints of the last 6 months. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, pretty sufficiently. An addendum to the apology. No, I think it was all email addresses going to gobbledygook at some random keyboardtext.com that did it.
Oh, nice.
So what probably happened was you got 500 bounce backs and then they locked him.
Yeah, or you even could have like hit a random spam trap or something like that too. Like it's totally possible that like somebody keyboard mashed to make a spam trap just because they knew that somebody was auto-generating emails. That sort of stuff happens all the time.
Okay, cool. The questions are starting to flow.
Awesome.
As a product manager, how much day-to-day coding do you do, and what programming experience do you think is needed to be a great product manager?
So I'm going to answer the second question first, which is I work on a team of, are we like 18 now? Sorry, I'm looking at Phil, who is our product marketing manager.
How's it going?
Hi, Phil.
He's crashing, even though he wasn't invited.
Uh-huh.
But I think we're 18 people, and 3 of us actually have written code before. So being a product manager, this is my personal opinion, even people on my team may say different, is more about understanding and translating the customer problem than it is about being able to speak technically about how to implement it. We went back and forth with our engineering team because they said, oh my God, this new process with product, it's super waterfall. And we're like, in a way it kind of is, because we go and we get all of the requirements, but we don't specify how to build it, and so we allow the engineering teams to be agile in that way. But we're really going out and understanding, talking to customers, what do you need, what's working, what's not, let's dig in on that thing that you said. And really identifying that the pain or the opportunity, that's what it takes to be a product manager. And then you can hand that to your engineering team and they can build it. We also work closely with UI UX, so we get pretty designs and all of that. What was the first question? Now that I said that, I forgot the first one.
How much day-to-day coding do you do? Was the first question.
I haven't coded since like professionally in like 8 years, except for this month. I actually picked code back up. I had been a PHP web developer for a long time. Don't hate me for that. I did a lot of JavaScript too, but I took a break from coding for a while because I just needed the break, and recently picked up Python and React and started coding a lot. And because we're a team of 2 that owns 26 repos and open source, it was a little bit of desperation, a little bit of like, hey, this is fun again, I want to do it. And so I've actually coded every day this month, including the weekends.
Cool. Besides project manager, what other roles do you work with in your agile team?
So I'm very much a proponent of agile is a great direction to aim for, but don't be pedantic about it. So like I generally get the idea of agile in that, constantly iterate, learn what you're doing, pay attention to how you're getting work done, pick a sprint size, pay attention to velocity. And then, again, small team of 2. Elmer and I really are, Elmer's our engineer that I work with. If you're in our repos, thinking serious, he's everywhere at the same time. we work as a partnership. We're constantly just looking at what we can improve and how to improve it. And so there's probably very specific job descriptions in there, but it doesn't make sense with a team of two.
I've got a question from Duram. Hey, Matt, I have a question about how you guys track API codes that have been posted to GitHub. My SendGrid account got suspended real quickly because I forgot to not include it in a push. Y'all worked with me to fix it, but I was surprised by how fast you guys caught that.
So I believe you're talking about like an API key, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we actually set up a partnership with GitHub. Amazon has something very similar. Our API keys follow a very specific pattern, and we have a deal with GitHub where we work together to identify repos that have an API key that's been published, and our compliance team, as soon as they find it themselves or are told about it, they shut off that API key and basically block it, because it's that again is that compliance thing where even though our customers are sending the data through our servers and we can't control that, we're still kind of responsible for it. And so we do everything we can to try to prevent Joram's API key from sending out a 700 million email spam blast, because that would be bad for everybody.
Do you recommend getting an Agile certification to become a project manager?
I read one book on Agile at a job 4 jobs ago, and we all agreed that it's a great framework to start with and then immediately iterate on. So no, I don't think you need it.
Let's see. I have a question about Curry and then a question about SendGrid specifically. Which one do you want first?
The Curry, please.
I've never tried Curry. How would you describe it?
Well, that bowl of rice plus some very delicious spices and some coconut milk. It's like a delicious soup. Good vegetables. Get some chicken in there. It's hard to beat, honestly. I also like to make it pretty spicy, but my wife doesn't eat spice at all, and she loves it too.
Well, good to know. That's a good way to describe it. Does SendGrid hire business analysts to do requirements? They say elicitation here, but I'm going to say solicitation and gathering, or is that handled by the product management team, excuse me?
Yeah, so it depends on the situation. So we have a customer research team on the marketing side, and they will use business analysts for very specific things. They're looking at like the overall environment of email, or specific verticals or something like that on a very, very broad basis. But when it comes to adding a new product or going after a specific feature, the product manager is the person on the ground talking to the developers, talking to the customer, and really sussing out what's going on, what's the job they're trying to do, how are they doing it, why are they doing it, and then we actually have a process for how we get that approved, different checkpoints along the way.
Okay, cool. Let's see here. What are your thoughts about using Python with React? So
I found this killer intro, or actually I didn't find it, Elmer found it, to give credit where credit's due, introduction to using Python called testdriven.io. And I'm not affiliated with this guy, but he is actually in Denver. I found out after I sent him an email, and this thing, it is this like really nice, plain English way to set up a Flask build, to refactor at every step, build in a database, Dockerize the thing. Oh wait, no, we're not going to use Jinja templates. We're going to use React. It's really cool. That was my first exposure to React, and I was like, this sure beats a lot of writing this HTML myself, because I used to do that. Like one of my jobs, I just cut designs into raw HTML, and it was the worst thing ever. Luckily, we have designers here that do that for us. But being able to, build a form and then reuse it and have these nice little modules all over the place, and half of the code's already written for you, is just amazing.
All right, give me a second to see if I have any other questions at this time. No, I think that'll do it.
Fantastic.
That was awesome. Oh, hang on. What would you recommend for Lambda? Okay, I'll break this into multiple questions. What is your what is your pet peeves about current boot camps / other boot camp grads?
Oh, interesting. I think that there are definitely boot camps out in the world that to get people to sign up, they promise everything. I think being realistic about where you're going to be when you come out of a boot camp and the skills that you're going to have and the things that you can do along the way to make yourself, you know, more of a better candidate when you come out, right? Because, you know, from the hiring standpoint, somebody coming out of a boot camp is, you know, equivalent to having an intern in some cases, depending on the boot camp, of course. But, you know, somebody who is hungry enough to jump into open source and to build out that profile and that resume for themselves and to show that they actually have learned something and they've done some self-teaching on their own, they're going to have a much better chance of getting the job. And really being realistic with people about what's possible when you walk out the doors if you only do the classes. But if you spend the time and you learn the thing and you dig deep and make connections, you're going to be a lot better off at the end.
Cool. So the next step of this question, what is the hiring process at SendGrid like?
I can tell you it's way better than when I started. You mentioned that I was a recruiter before. I had my own company for a while building websites. We did terribly. I didn't know how to actually run a business or how to price things. And so we lost all of the money. And so I hit up my buddy who was a recruiter and said, hey man, I need a job. He's like, I have nothing for you. Nobody wants PHP developer right now. But come work for me because you can talk to other people. And so I spent 2 years just translating tech talk to my boss and my boss back to the tech people, whether it was developers we were hiring or companies that were hiring us. Saw where things were going and it was time to move on. And I hit up SendGrid and said, dude, seriously, like I knew the recruiter. I was like, I will sweep your floors. Just give me a job. Whatever it is, make me an office manager. You know, I'll go pick up pizza for lunch, whatever it is. And that I applied for a job and it took 3 months to get in and get the job. It was kind of amazing. Now the hiring process is, there's a team of people. It's usually like 5 to 6 people. They all have a very specific thing they're looking for. Our culture is like the tippy top priority for people that get hired here. And, you know, to kind of like give you some of the mumbo jumbo, we have what we call 4 H's: happy, humble, honest, and hungry. And so each person will take one of those H's, and then you'll also have somebody who's evaluating technical skill. And then, you know, generally everybody's kind of looking to make sure that you're the type of person that we would want to work with. And after we do those interviews, usually that's in the same day, then we'll all get together and we'll talk and we'll discuss our specific slice of what we're looking for. And then a decision will be made from there.
So how many interviews can you process using that method? It sounds like it's quite time consuming.
For hiring interviews, it can be. So I started as a documentation developer, and through the process of like moving to the product team, I actually was able to build our docs team up. And for the last 2 people that we hired, we interviewed, I think, 20 people. And throughout that process, I was a yes on a couple of those people because I was looking at, you know, passion for the job and how honest could they be or how technical were they, you know, depending on the interview. But there were other people on the team that found reasons not to hire people. You know, maybe this person was overbearing with their team, or, you know, really didn't communicate well in this case, or couldn't tell us why they wanted to be a documentarian. You know, and so there were a lot of things like that, you know, we're fairly picky, but it's worked for us. You know, we've been very successful. There was a point in time where we actually had quite a bit of attrition, and we were making more money after those people left than we were before. And it's because of the quality of people that we have.
Okay. Let's see. Ooh. Okay. So continuing on the hiring questions, do y'all do y'all do the whiteboard challenges during your interview process or hiring process rather?
I believe you're talking about like the typical, like, all right, if you have 3 pianos and you have to drop it from a 50-story building, and how do you know what floor to drop it from without it breaking? Not so much. Our interview process is not as like weird as that. You know, like one of my favorite questions for developers is, "What's the craziest interview question you've ever had?" But what we're really looking for is like true technical ability, hunger to learn and to do the best work for the company. Are you generally a happy person, or are you going to bring the whole team down? Can you speak straightforward and honestly, even about tough subjects? And then, can you do that without bragging, without, hey, I'm a rock star, check me out. And if as an engineer, you will sit down with engineers and you will like design a process, or, there is a code test that they'll do. And then you're going to sit down and be like, hey, here's the problem that I have. Let's work through this, and if you guys can work through that, then you're going to have a better chance of getting through the interview process.
All right. Here is a fun request. If your laptop's not going to die right away, would you be willing to give us a tour of your office space? Someone's looking particularly for ping pong tables.
There are ping pong tables in our kitchen. So, and I will actually, you know what? I'll take you guys in there. Give me a second, because we're actually just down the hall. So I'm gonna mute my computer real quick while I'm walking past people that are working, and I will be right back. All right, so we have this long hallway. We've got our personas, the people that we're looking to be our customers. And then I'll show you, this is our kitchen. This is like our best room in the whole office. So all tea, coffee, and then the really cool part is the cold brew and the kombucha taps, beer fridge, and then our kitchen. And if you look way over there, we've got a ping pong table. Good?
Mad, yeah. Everyone is actually flipping out at the kombucha tap.
Yeah, we just got that, and the cold brew tap too, which is pretty awesome.
So is it more of an open space or cubicle or office type of?
It's pretty open, actually. There are teams that have cubicles, like sales, and then we have offices for executives because they need to be able to have their quiet space depending on what sort of thing they're working on. And then everybody else kind of has like these pods. Let's see if I can find one for you.
Check to see if hey.
Oh, also real quick, this killer soda machine, check that thing out. I'm on a call with a code school. These guys are awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. They're looking at me funny because I'm showing off. Like, what the hell are you guys doing? All right, so yeah, I'll show you. We have, so you can kind of see this here. We have these like desk pods right there, where like there'll be like 8 desks together, and everybody's got internet and everything else and monitors and all of that.
So for those of y'all that don't know, kombucha is fermented tea.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Go look up a SCOBY, SCOBY. It's super creepy looking, but it's the magic of kombucha.
And once you get past the fermented taste, it's great.
Yeah. Actually, so what's it called? Oh, there's a thing for like mixed drinks. It's called a shrub, and it's basically like vinegar and fruit juice and some sugar. Find a recipe for a shrub. It's got a little bit more vinegar taste than a kombucha, but it's a great way to like kind of get an idea of what kombucha is.
Let's see. SCOBY is spelled SCOBY.
What did I say?
Oh, no. I think you said it right, but I just saw a question that I want to get answered.
I wouldn't be surprised if I got that wrong. That's why I don't write docs. When we hired them, I was like, here's all the docs. And they're like, what do you mean? You've been doing this for 2 years. And I was like, look, I had the passion, but not the skill. You guys have both. Take it and run.
All right. I think that is all the questions.
Fantastic.
And I think you actually get the first person who actually toured us in their office.
Oh man, we're super proud of this office. I actually got to help design half of it. We like sat down and did like a product discovery, but on the office for the engineering teams. And so, I feel like a tight bond with how we set this thing up. So I'm happy to do it. And if you're in Denver and are looking to see more of it, hit me up. I'm happy to, bring you up, to walk you around, show you what we're doing.
All right. Joke question, but I think this is the last one. Where's the moat?
Oh, we have a couple federal buildings around, and so Homeland Security took care of that for us.
Ace job. All right. Matt, thank you for your time. This has been great.
Yeah, no problem. I think you guys are set up to talk to Elmer as well. So you'll see, my partner in crime sometime soon, and he's way more energetic than I am, which is hard to do, but he's gonna have lots of information for you.
Okay, I got this actually PM'd. Do you play D&D at all?
I don't. I've actually never played. I want to, but I've never done it.
All right, cool. If I'm ever in Denver, I'll definitely DM for you. That'll be fun.
Sweet. That'd be awesome. Yeah, there's a bunch of people here that do. I've just never actually sat down with them.
All right. Thanks, Matt. A bunch of people just said thanks. So I'm not going to read their names, but they said thanks.
No worries. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate the time. If you're in Portland, I'm going to be at API Strat. Feel free to hit us up on open source. I'm happy to answer questions, whatever we can do. If you find my username on there, it's that@sendgrid.com for my email if you want to chat. I talk to developers and spend time with people all the time, and I'm happy to just ask a bunch of questions and share as much as I'm able to.
Thanks again, Matt. That was absolutely fantastic. I think I speak for everyone in the Lambda organization when we say that you're welcome anytime. Feel free to remain a part of our organization here in Slack. Or if you get some mad DMs on your Twitter account, from students or instructors or whatever, we're just happy to have cool connections. So I also just wanted to throw out there that it was actually a Lambda School student who lined this whole thing up. Joram Clervius, who's a member of CS2, set this whole thing up, and shout out to Joram. Thank you so much for this. So thanks again. You went above and beyond, and it was fabulous. So we appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. If you guys did record that, I'd love to have a link to the video.
Yeah, should be available shortly. We'll talk to you soon.
Rock on. Thanks, man.
Bye, guys.